Hello everyone, it's an honor for me to be here, and thank you for welcoming me here on stage to talk a little bit more briefly about dfuse today. At dfuse, we build slick blockchain APIs to power your decentralized applications, to power your web interfaces, your user experience, to power your analytics also, and your general understanding of blockchain data. And we do that in a way that is much more powerful and reliable than querying your blockchain node directly. dfuse is a company built by serial entrepreneurs that have together sold companies to Intel, Dell, Trend Micro, to name a few. We've got cybersecurity experts and people who know how to build web-scale data infrastructure. And they're all passionate about the future and the potential of blockchain and about the dawn of that new era. And on the right there, the white section, I can't be thankful enough for these folks who have supported us and for their engagement, their insights, and their passion. I know MCC, like multi-coins in the room. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it. Now let me set the table. Any database has two things at its core, in the heart, right? There's reading and writing. And the database will determine the semantics of the data, what you can do in there. That's where we have protocols. But they all need to handle read and write. And we all know how blockchain protocol developers, they work really hard on write, on the write throughput, right? On performance, on that infamous TPS count. Well, at dfuse, we handle the other half. We provide everything you need to read from the chain with high throughput and zero compromise. We'll index everything. We'll allow you to search terabytes and terabytes in under a second. We'll take snapshots of the database for you, each block. We'll allow you to track your transactions when they go through the midst of blockchain uncertainties with the greatest precision in the industry. And, you know, these things cannot be built inside a blockchain node. You cannot ask your users or node runners to use 20 terabytes, for example, 20 terabytes of RAM, and then run 3 database services and 17 other microservices to mesh all that up. It doesn't make sense, right? So nodes will never offer such a thing. But that's fine. Because in the end, we'll offer you the right tools to build the best user experience afforded or made possible by the underlying protocol. To date, we have built and rolled out technology from the ground up on EOS, which is where we started. And most of the big players on the EOS ecosystem are our customers. Like, to name a few, Everpedia, Karma is a user, MyKey, Slowmist is a heavy user. They like us very much, and we appreciate them too. And a few others, like actually a large number of others, just to name a few. And we just recently rolled out on Ethereum, and it's already a game changer. Of course, we envision a future where there's going to be many protocols to coexist and communicate. And we're already working on 2 more protocols, but stay tuned for where we're going next. Now I'm going to talk about 2 major innovations that we brought to life to be able to power the different products I'm going to talk about. The first one is the state database. This is especially impressive on EOS-IO networks, which is the first implementation. It takes snapshot of all the state at each block. Even though tables have millions of rows, which they often have or sometimes have, and provide you with a consistent view of those tables, unaltered by incoming transactions. And it's capable of streaming just the changes. So you can start with a consistent snapshot and then get the modifications so that your application running in the browser, in the mobile app, or on your server can always be synchronized to what's happening on a blockchain node. So, just to give you an example there, on EOS, the block times are 0.5 seconds. That's pretty fast. Tack, 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 tack. And if you queried 1,000 rows, and then the next 1,000 rows, because that's how you queried on EOS, and the third chunk, it might happen that a block came and changed that first chunk and transferred maybe $60 million from here to some other user that you're going to query down there. It's difficult to get a consistent view of all the accounts. With the diffuse state DB, you can come to us and we will transfer the whole snapshot without being moved by the next block consistently. Even though it's, for example, 250 megs. And this technology can be applied to many chains, like in particular UTXO chains, like Bitcoin and the like. Our next component is a sort of hybrid, a transaction database with history and real time. It's uncompromising. For example, on Ethereum, we will index all the log fields, for those who know what I'm talking about. Not just the ones that you specified when you deployed your smart contract. We'll index them all. It's also deep. It's the deepest in the industry. On Ethereum, for example, we will go down an index and allow you to search down to the EVM call level, along with all the stack of the calls, and the state changes, and the balance changes down to the EVM call level. And on EOS, there again, we will index each action, including the database modification, down to the action level, whereas most systems round up the changes to the block level. The system is historical, allows you to search the whole history of a chain in a second, but also will apply queries in real time. It's fork aware. The system knows about the implementation for the longest chain or the highest block number of each protocol, and will navigate forks for you so that you can just receive one simple stream of data. And the thing scales horizontally to millions of users. Now let's turn our attention to some of the products that are built on top of these things. But let me start with an example. With diffuse search. In 3 calls, you can build a UI like that is guaranteed not to miss a transaction or show you something that is false. And that'll take 20 lines of code. Where we start with a list of 5 transactions, the first 5. And then we can click and use the cursor from that element to download the rest, another 25. Or we can implement an infinity scroll, where you scroll up infinitely and will continue down to the genesis block of the chain. And after that, we can click on listen, where you implement as you wish, but you can start listening on the future events of the chain based on the topmost cursor, which is a small bookmark. And then we will send you any new events matching your query, and also send you a notification, which is a new flag, to remove things if they were not true anymore because of a chain reorganization or some other event. And I think that's really cool. Now, this is diffuse search. It allows you to search the chain using a simple query language inspired by GitHub or Kibana's overlay on top of Elasticsearch. See that account colon language there? Very simple, but implements and, or, and negation. And Ethereum uses similar language, obviously, with the terms of that protocol. So diffuse search will take that query, go and take the history in the same call, could be processing the whole chain with terabytes of data, sending it to you without missing a beat, and continuing on into eternity, applying your filter each new incoming block. And we provide a chain-wide cursor, that little bookmark, that you can pass back if you get disconnected, and then we'll continue exactly where we left off, even in the middle of a block. And it's also aware of chain reorganizations. If you bring a cursor back an hour after, we will go and do a replay of what it was needed to be done so that we guarantee you didn't miss a beat and that you have a consistent view upstream. This is ideal for IoT devices, for example, where they have limited memory footprint. They can keep just that small bit of data. And when they come back an hour after, they can continue, sync the part of the chain that they missed, and never miss a beat. Now, the diffuse lifecycle, I think is very important because it touches the user. Nothing is more scary to go in an application, you might have lived that someday, and then you do a transaction and you have no clue what's going on. No feedback, and it lasts for dozens and dozens of seconds. That's not a good user experience. Our goal with the lifecycle endpoints and streaming is to provide a small stream of updates that you can transform into rich signals to their users. And what we have there is the most precise that we've seen in the industry today. So you can provide something like a turning clock with precise timing because we give you an estimate of how long it's going to take to get into a block, or how many confirmations, or if the block was reverted, what was the state of that, or on different protocols, if it reaches irreversibility, or some other probabilistic values that you would like to have signals on. As soon, or as much, or as less as you want. On EOS, block producer handoffs are actually a good indicator that some blocks are not going to be forked out. It lowers the risk. So all these things can be sent as signals to you. And specifically on EOS, we also use that to power a drop-in replacement of the chain endpoint that submits transactions. So when you want to push a transaction to the network, you can add a small header there and asking, don't return until it's in a block, or until it has passed irreversibility, or until it passed a block producer handoff, or a certain number of confirmations, etc. And that endpoint will return the real execution traces, not the ones speculatively executed by the node in the front, but the ones from the block. So it increases the reliability of you pushing transactions to the network greatly. And as an aside, or as sort of complement on EOS, we have a full-blown support, and again, this is unique in the industry, of the deferred transaction life cycles. This is a special feature in EOS, for those who do not know. In EOS, you can send a transaction, it's going to be settled into a block, but scheduled for later execution. And while it's in the memory of the chain, you can cancel it, or it can expire, or it can be executed, and the transaction lifecycle endpoint will give you all that information so that you know how to react in your app. On top of that, we've rolled out diffuse workers, which are webhooks somehow. We'll do the search on our side so that you can simplify your infrastructure, and when we get something that matches, we'll call your endpoint with all the same goodies as if you searched it yourself. You'll see that you'll have handling of chain reorganization, you'll have all of the high-speed replays and cursor-based checkpointing, so that if your server stops responding, we will continue exactly where it last succeeded. We've also got some integrations to third-party applications, so on Slack, for example, so that you can receive notifications if someone sent you token transfers, or if you were concerned by a multi-signature proposal or something like that. Again, this simplifies your stack. You can become serverless, you can roll that out to Lambda function or cloud functions, and it keeps your costs low, right? So this is what makes up the bulk of the diffuse stack. And it's accessed through simple protocols for the developers. REST, WebSocket for streaming things, but I prefer there's GraphQL, where we support both queries and subscriptions, the streaming system in GraphQL, and we can have that over a gRPC bridge so that you can drop that in 15 languages with just a few lines. And GraphQL will allow you to have very terse payloads, especially important in constrained environments. Now, some users wanted that on their network. So we made it into a plugin, or an on-demand network, as we call it. This brings to either a development setup or a production setup the full suite of diffuse products, including our block explorers, which expose that rich data. EOSQ.app and ETHQ.app. So if you're an app, well, we'll run, manage, host your network, hassle-free, much cheaper than what you would do on your own, along with the diffuse products. And if you're a network, we'll act as a plugin, and we'll bring our products to your network, to your users, to improve their development experience, and service your own community as a network owner or manager. So, all of that is good, but it wouldn't be exquisite if it didn't come also with peace of mind. So we roll that out. We have libraries for you guys to easily roll things out. We've got an infrastructure that is redundant across multiple cloud locations, data centers, but also cloud providers. We design for high availability. Everything is highly available in what we do. We deploy web scale backends so that you don't have to do that. And I like the ultra low latency. All of our systems are built like tent poles. You know, you put the tent poles together, they enter into one another, and when a block or a transaction arrives, it's pushed directly to your web UI. The APIs are reliable and closely monitored, and I love that line. This embodies all we do. We design and guarantee that you'll never miss a beat. We've got great support from a very experienced team in all the protocols, some of the deepest knowledge, and we can carve some special solutions for enterprise customer. All of that is packaged in competitive pricing that is metered so that it's easy to start and we can grow together as you become successful. If you have special needs, you can contact us and we can package something for you. So, I would love to learn about your projects, about how you use different protocols, how you solve or perhaps struggle with reading from the different blockchains. Visit us at diffuse.io. You can start for free right now. And you can follow us on WeChat, where you will see announcement for the Thursday meetup we're doing here in Shanghai. It'll be excellent to see some of you here, well, all of you, there's a lot of people. And I thank you a lot. We'll see you around.